the UFC Singapore card, in which saw Max Holloway pull out the emphatic win. It was a good card. Let's talk about it. DJ, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing good, CT. UFC Singapore, good card. Max Holloway coming away with a victory, but there's a lot more to that card. Obviously, the story of the card was the Korean Zombie, and obviously his final fight. A lot of us anticipated this to be, this will be his final fight. Especially if the decision doesn't go his way, or the fight doesn't go his way, I should say. Um, yeah, man, like it was great. But you know what else was great was being able to watch a fight on a Saturday night here in Australia, which is not something that we used to. So yeah, which I'm surprised. Like I mean, the pay-per-view event in Sydney is not following the same protocol, and having it on a Saturday night.
Yeah, it really was surprising. But yeah, we've been calling out it for a while,
Yeah,
respecting to the local scene, the crowd.
yeah,
Um, One thing is that it's not too bad for the US in terms of just a morning card for them.
yeah,
Uh, and all of our US viewers, I'm talking about it.
yeah,
For those that don't know, we're us in the Asia Pacific region. We're always needing to
yeah,
watch the fight in the morning or during the day when
yeah,
it's night time for you. This
yeah,
time it was reverse. Obviously, in Asia region, the
yeah,
fight was at night.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was a. How did you see the card overall before we just dive into the main event?
Yeah, man, like great card. Obviously not didn't live up to the same sort of output as the previous Singapore card, which was the pay-per-view event that you were present for in person, which was the Prahashka Glover Teixeira main event, and we still talk about that fight and sort of how electric the crowd was, the atmosphere was. Look, the crowd was still great. I mean, you could see that when the zombie came out, and the crowd got behind pretty much every fight. They were involved in the fights, which was great to see. Yeah, but really good card, man. Like I think a great win for Max Holloway, two legends of the game, two legends in that featherweight division, two pioneers who've been fighting for a very long time. Surprised that their paths didn't cross a lot earlier than this, but yeah, look, better late than never. Like, you could argue, right? I mean, Max Holloway's still in his prime. I do feel Zombie's gone a bit past that. Um, but man, he came out swinging. Like he came with one intention, and I think safe to say, we've seen the Zombie fight across the years, and he's a very aggressive fighter, and he fought the only way he knew, and came forward, and obviously paid the price. Unfortunately, look, someone has to lose, right? It's one of those fights where both guys are loved a lot by the MMA public, and to see one of them lose is always going to be hard. But yeah, man, it was a devastating KO. It was seeing him fall forward face first. Uh, Max Holloway didn't follow up. Showed that respect, and there's a lot of love and respect between these two. Man, yeah, like a story of a career. I know he never became a champion, but you gotta tip your hat to one of the veterans of the sport and a great featherweight fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the way it was kind of done in terms of he just knows when's the right time to step
Yeah,
away. DJ, we
yeah,
talk about some of our beloved fighters haven't gone out the best way, and we wait to see what Chris Weidman does. But we obviously, Luke Rockhold that was an interesting, first farewell. But then we obviously have the most recent, the Robbie Lawler, who
yeah,
who knew it was his last fight, but the fight went his way. But that
yeah,
just goes to show you in this sport, you just never know.
yeah,
But yeah, all eyes on, all credit to Max Holloway. Amazing finish.
yeah,
Did what he needed to do. I agree with you. I think he's really still in his prime. It's just, man, it's just unfortunate that Volkanovski is in front of him. And
yeah,
let's say Volkanovski was in a different division or he didn't exist. What
yeah.
what would people be saying about Max Holloway? Would we be talking about him as the GOAT?
Absolutely, man. Like I read somewhere, like if so, there was a comment saying if Volkanovski didn't exist, Max Holloway would be on like a 15 fight wins title defense streak. So You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like the only person he's lost to since the first McGregor loss is Volkanovski, and that three times. Right? It is a tough spot for him to be in because he is absolutely outclassing every other opponent. But then especially that last fight against Volkanovski was pretty one-sided. So he wants to fight Volkanovski for the fourth time. We never know how and what happens. The fight game's like a very interesting game. It's very unpredictable. But look, let's see what happens. I do think Max is in that spot where like we're not entirely sure what the next fight is going to be. I wouldn't mind him going up to 155, maybe trying the waters again there. But doing a proper weight gain, sort of building his frame to that, and then he's still young. He's still young, and he's like we said, like he's still in his prime. So I look forward to seeing what's next for Max Holloway.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, true champion in my eyes. Like yours, a lot of fight fans. Yeah, two beloved fighters for this main event. And look for a non pay per view for a fight night. I mean, it was a great main event. How
Yeah.
did you see? Yeah, the co-main.
Well, the core main was the Ryan Spann Anthony Smith fight. Interesting, right? Because watching it live, I actually took when we got to the point where the decision was about to be read out. I was expecting Ryan Spann to be raised, but obviously, Anthony Smith got the nod. It was a split decision. Having said that, I do see a lot of comments about that being labeled as a robbery. I completely disagree because I do think the first round was a clear Anthony Smith round. Round two was a clear Ryan Spann round. It was just that third round was super razor close, and both fighters didn't really capitalize. I was surprised that Ryan Spann didn't try and press more. It seemed at one point in that second round, Anthony Smith was his eye was compromised, courtesy of that hook from Ryan Spann, and he seemed entirely. I thought the fight was about to be stopped. I thought he was going to get the TKO, but somehow Anthony Smith survived, scrambled, and managed to not only just go through that round, but then get past the doctor's clearance, going to the third round, and not just stop there, but also win that fight. So yeah, like a good win for him. It does impact Ryan Spann's momentum. It's just unfortunate, I guess. It's one of those things, and it's a fight. It's a razor close fight. Probably in hindsight, he's probably watching back that fight and thinking, "Oh, maybe I could have pressed a little bit more here to sort of make that win, make that decision a more decisive one."
Yeah, man. We talk about the 3 round fights a lot, and I've
Mm.
spoken on it. It's kind of like just whoever takes their chances. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not always the best fighter will win.
yeah,
That's why they call the 5 round fights a championship fight
yeah,
because it generally settles the score. But yeah, 3 rounds, you got to take your chances. Two great
yeah,
fighters. I'm kind of bummed for Ryan Spann because I feel like he was on, a good momentum.
yeah,
But look, Anthony Lionheart Smith is also a real popular fighter and someone
yeah,
who, has had his ups and downs, and it's always good to see him, get some consistency as
yeah.
well. So yeah, man, we wait to see what happens with those two guys. Anything else you want to add before we go on to the next one?
No, man, look, it again puts Anthony Smith in that weird spot. Like, what next? Probably, obviously, Ryan
Mm,
Spann winning, we could potentially
yeah,
match him up with many of the
yep,
other future contenders. But yeah, look, it brings about that question. But let's wait and see. It's one of those things. Even Anthony Smith said, "Look, I don't know what's next. I just want to sit back and enjoy.
yeah,
I want to go home and relax." So I guess yeah, kind of sums up sort of what everyone's thinking as well in terms of there's no like real clear what's next
yep,
for Anthony Smith at the moment, I believe. And then we had the Giga Chikadze return after 18 long months. The last time we saw him in action was against
mm,
Calvin Kattar in the Apex. Obviously, it was a beatdown. He took a lot of damage. And yeah, it was very interesting because he was rising rapidly through the ranks, and he was quite confident in terms of his abilities, and rightfully so. But then
yeah,
obviously that speed breaker happened. forced him to take some time off, and you know he was back in the cage last Saturday against Alex Caceres, a very game opponent, man. I actually really like his style of fighting. I thought he did really well. I know it was a unanimous decision, but I feel like it was a lot closer than that. I did feel obviously Giga had a lot more power. You could see that as the fight progressed, but I do think Alex Caceres had a lot of success in that too. Like I actually thought he won that first round. So yeah, yeah, man, like good fight, but
Yep.
good to have Giga back. I don't disagree. I do think Giga won. But I just think it's a much closer fight than people think it is.
Yeah, two really entertaining fighters. I love them.
Yep,
Caceres and yeah, good to have Giga back on the win column and back.
yep,
A really popular fighter as well.
yep.
Junior Tupper, DJ
Oh,
from the Australia region. Obviously, younger brother of Justin Tuffer, bad
yep,
man. The Tuffer gang, man,
yep,
I saw that live and yeah, he was so aggressive against Parker Porter and
yep.
he was just out for the finish, man.
Man, absolutely, and that like if you follow his career, that's his fighting style. He's got killer instincts, and obviously, man, follows through with it. Absolutely not surprised that he got the knockout. I was expecting a finish in that fight, but man, like to be able to like this is his first win in the UFC to register that in such devastating fashion, knocking out your opponent in front of like a packed arena, absolutely amazing. So yeah, man, like looking forward to what's next for him.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see, like he could really be a superstar in this
Yep,
division.
yep,
Little reckless, but his aggression definitely allowed him to get that early finish, against a veteran. Um,
yep.
but anything else you want to add? Is there anything else we've
Man,
missed in the main card?
oh yeah, now we've got to talk about Aaron Blanchfield and Tyler
Yeah,
Santos. That was a fight I
yeah,
was looking forward to because, man, like the last time we saw Tyler Santos, not just inside the cage, but in Singapore, which is the last time she fought before this Saturday,
mm,
and she fought Valentina Shevchenko, and there was a lot of controversy in that fight. There's a fair few people thought that she actually won that fight. And she obviously made a strong case for that. Like it was a very strong performance from her. Um, and then she fights Erin Blanchfield, who's touted to be that future champ, the next big thing in that division in women's MMA. So I was quite excited to see how this goes. Obviously, Erin Blanchfield is known for a relentless pressure, a takedowns, a ground control, grappling. Whereas Tyler Santos is also well-rounded, but so for a striking. Then I was very surprised with the pace they set in that first round, especially Tyler Santos. I mean,
mm,
some of
yeah,
her strikes you could argue were reckless because they were looping around, but eventually like, they did do a lot of damage. You know, Aaron Blanchfield couldn't come close to, couldn't even get close to taking her down. And I felt like it was a very strong round for Tyler Santos. And then obviously the fight progressed, and we got to see a lot more Aaron's